What's going on, everybody? It's Sega Man back with another live stream of another near and dear to my heart video game system. This is the Sega Saturn Showcase live, and I'm going to show you in real time one of the Sega Saturns that I own because I own Model 1 and Model 2. And I'm going to show you half of my library, half of the library of games that I have. Welcome, everybody. I said I would do this every other week or and then some, because of the holidays. But this is all about Sega Saturn, man. I'm going to show you half of my Sega Saturn collection, the system, and amongst other things like controllers, different things like that, things that came with the Sega Saturn. I have over 108 complete Sega Saturn games in its boxes, case, and shell. So that's pretty good, over 100. So Sega Saturn games complete in box. And I have loose ones also. So let's get the show rolling, guys, because I don't want this to be too long. I didn't want to bring up my whole collection because that video or the live stream of that would take too long. A brother got to go to work. But I'm going to show you what I have, man. This is a throwback, Retro Wednesday throwback. What's in my collection? What's up, brother? How are you, man? What's up, Bob? How's it going, brother? So let's take a walk down memory lane, Bob. Whoever comes in, I hope you guys enjoy this live stream that I'm doing on StreamYard of my Sega Saturn, half of my collection, and I'm going to show you one of the systems I have. So let's just get right into it. So first up, I have two Sega Saturns. Now, I believe this is the Model 2, and I have Model 1 also. So this is the Model 1 Sega Saturn. So the back of it, the bottom of it, but this is one of my Sega Saturns that I own. It's in very good condition. The jack button here. It's very clean inside. The buttons are oval here. That's how you can tell which model it is. Now, I believe this is the Model 2. Let me just take a quick look here. I got to be careful. I don't want to drop this. But I can't remember, guys, if this was the Model 2 or the Model 1. I don't think it's really saying on here. But in the back, it has where it has a backup memory. Sega was always ahead of the time when it came to memory and different things like that. And you put a CR2032 battery, lithium battery in the back of this. Just take that door off. Oh, it's hard. Take that door off, and the battery sits right in there if you can see it. That's where the battery sits, inside there when you have to change it. But I don't have to actually do that anymore. And you know why? The reason why I don't have to do that anymore is because of this bad boy right here. I stumbled upon this. This is called the memory card plus. Now, if you have a memory card plus, which is cool, it can hold a lot of memory in here for all your Sega Saturn games. But what I didn't know, and what I stumbled upon with this bad boy here that I only bought for $10 about probably 8 years ago at an exchange, is that this bad boy can play Japanese version games. So if you buy a Japanese game, Sega Saturn game, and you don't have this and you just have your Sega Saturn, it will not play. It will not play at all because it's region locked. What I didn't know about this bad boy is it unlocks Japanese versions of Sega Saturn games. So one day I purchased a game, Thunder Force, on Sega Saturn. And I was curious, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't think I can get this to run on my Sega Saturn. But let me just give it a try because I didn't know that this ran Japanese games. I didn't know that. So what I did is I was curious, and I actually put in the Sega Saturn game, the Thunder Force import game, and it worked. So when I stumbled upon that, I started ordering all these Sega Saturn games that were affordable, because the Sega Saturn games you get from Saturn are more affordable than a U.S. version of games. It really is on some points. What's up, Anthony Chipmunk, a.k.a. Tony? How you doing, brother? And I started ordering, like, I probably have at least about 6 or 7 or 8 Japanese import games, and they all worked with this memory card plus. But at the time, I did not know that. I just thought this memory card here was just for the Sega Saturn. Did I put this in wrong? Yeah, I think I did. Or am I? No, I'm not. But that's what I thought, guys. And I honestly didn't know that. I didn't know that it worked with this bad boy. So I always keep it plugged in. No matter if I'm playing import Sega Saturn games or regular Saturn games. So that's the Sega Saturn, I believe, Model 2. I think the Model 1 has the circle buttons. And I have that Model 2, but it's put away in one of my game chests. And I didn't want to take that out. So if you see this one, that's good enough. You pretty much know what a US version of a Sega Saturn looks like. Now, if you want a Sega Saturn imported from Japan, it's going to be gray, and it's going to have blue buttons in the front here. And it's going to be gray, and the Sega Saturn logo is written differently, and I kind of like the way that one is written actually better. Dave, what's up, brother? How are you, man? How are you, man? So that is the Sega Saturn. So, guys, let's get into some of the games that Sega Man has. Let me put this bad boy to the side so it doesn't get damaged at all. Put that to the side right there. So let's get into some of the peripherals, guys, that came out for the Sega Saturn. There were different various versions of Sega Genesis controllers. Different things like that came out for the Sega Saturn. Different kinds, you know. So let's get into a couple. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the original controller that came with the system. Actually pretty cool. Check this bad boy out. This is the original Sega Saturn controller that came with your Sega Saturn. Got the big great bumper buttons up here. It's really cool Sega Saturn logo right there. Then you have your start button. It's 6-button controller. Works very well still today. And, you know, the plug-in part, you know, it's pretty big, you know, kind of a oversized Genesis kind of controller, but made with metal. You know, so that is the first version of the Sega Saturn controller. But they had all different kind of peripheral and different types of controllers, guys, that they've actually brought out for the Sega Saturn, and I have some of those. So let's take a look. This is the Eclipse. And I think it's his second party or third party. But it's called the Eclipse Pad. It has auto and set on it. So I believe like it had like where you can like put on where you can make it go slow. Like it has a slow function button on here. It actually lights up when you turn on, when you put it in, you put it on, you put it in and plug it into your to your Sega Saturn. You know, but that is another one they have. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? It has all different types of functions that you can use right here for the Sega Saturn, you know, and I think it had a turbo button where if you're playing like shmup games or shoot 'em up games on here, you just hold the button down and that's it. You don't have to keep going, you know, like that. You just hold the button down and play the game. You know, I kind of like the turbo buttons better on a Sega Saturn controllers, but yeah, guys, that's another version of a controller that was made for the Sega Saturn. And we have another one here, which is called the Super Pad 8. The Super Pad 8, which is a little bit more sleek, more shaped like a Sega Genesis controller. It has an auto on and off and start button. So that's another one right here. More sleek, right? Kind of looks like a Sega Genesis controller, right? Because if you compare this, right, to this, it's a little bit more sleek than this. This is still sleek. But if you look, it's more rounded, more to like, it's more smoothed down, you know, for your hands and around the grip areas, you know, and kind of looks more like a 3DO controller or more like a Sega Genesis controller, you know. And that also compares to the original controller, guys, right? Which is the original, which is, you know, pretty much bigger. So you can see the difference. Then again, these are second party or third party controllers that were made, excuse me, for the Sega Saturn. It has a button on the back. I don't know what the button's for, if I remember. I don't know if it's for the turbo, but there's also a switch on the back, you know, of the controller. right there. But yeah, that is the Super Pad 8 for Sega Saturn. And I've actually found this on Lukey Games. I think it was around $5 or $5 or $6. I can't remember. But I found it on Lukey Games just to have a couple extra controllers. And you have the buttons up here that are smaller, you know, for your fingers and everything. So they try to make these controls a little bit more attractive, you know, sleek than if you would have a, you know, like a regular Sega Saturn controller. And a lot of these are actually good for shooting games. You know, when you have that you know, you have that turbo button, right? So let's get back into it here. Who we got here? Somebody, let me see here real quick, guys. We're going to go ahead on with the games. I got to check this all the time and make sure everything's good. You know, okay. All right, guys. All right, we ready? Okay. So now what we have here are some games that I have here. So what we have here is we're going to start with this. Is we have now this one game I have here I actually did in a trade with a friend, and I got this. It was a disc, just a disc. Okay, this game is worth a lot of money. So what I did is I actually copied. I actually copied the cover because he did not have the case for it, and we did a trade. But this game is actually worth a lot of money right now. You know, if you have it in its original case. But I had to actually make a case for it. So the case I made for it, it's called Marvel Superheroes. And this game right now out on the market is worth a pretty good penny, you know, especially if you have it in its original case and everything. But he liked Nintendo games, and I had a Nintendo game that he wanted, and we made an even swap. So I wanted this game because I did not have it in my collection. So he gave me the disc in perfect condition. But since I didn't have the original shell case for it, I made a sleeve for it and put it in a DVD case, you know, because I did not have it. And as you can see, it's copied very well, you know what I mean? And so is the back. Because there's a website you can go on where you can actually copy these from the original and make your own sleeves for that. And my friend actually, if I think I did it or he did it, he sent it to me. But that's the game inside. And like I said, it's in flawless condition. You know what I mean? It's worth a lot of money. Even if you just have the disc, you could probably get at least $80-$90 for it, because I've seen this go for well over $100 on Lukey Games, and that's just for the disc. So that is Marvel Superheroes, one of the best graphical 2D fighting games that Sega Saturn ever came out with. You know, so that is Marvel Superheroes. Now the next one we have here is Virtual Fighter. Well, let's do it one at a time. Virtual Fighter 2, one of the best Sega Saturn games, you know, ever made, you know, for the system. You know what I mean? Sega Saturn, they did a great job with Virtual Fighter 2. You know what I mean? You could still actually play these games and download them off of, you know, off of the Xbox store, I believe, Virtual Fighter 2. I think I also have that. But yeah, it's in great condition. I always try to keep my games, guys, in really good condition. But as you can see, these jewel cases, remember I did the video on this before, it's very hard to take care of these and keep these in good conditions, especially if you're young and you don't care. You drop this and these break, that's it. It's the value of it goes down. You know what I mean? But that is Virtual Fighter 2, guys, for the Sega Saturn. It has a nice booklet inside and everything. So yeah, that's you know, it's pretty good. And I still play this today. Now, I don't really play much on my Sega Saturn, but I still play it today. So, you know, so let's see here. The next one I got here, and this is like a mech game. I think it's called Amok, and it is it's a pretty cool, decent game. I picked this up on the cheap because it's a mech game. Any kind of Saturn game, if I can find it, I'll pick it up. It's in good condition. The box is in very good condition. Shows a advertisement of Virtual Fighter and Virtual on the inside. You know, but two great games. But this is another one that was actually pretty decent, you know. Sega Saturn, like I said, they had a huge library, but a lot of their games are becoming worth so much they're unaffordable. Just to be honest with you, unless you got some money, socked away where you can go out and collect for the Sega Saturn, you best be saving up your pennies, because a lot of the Sega Saturn games are very expensive, man. I have some expensive ones I'm going to be showing you here, but I got them cheap, like I said, because I've been a Sega fan forever, and I've got them really cheap back in the day because there were just things that overshined it, like the PlayStation 1. It overshined the Saturn. It just did. We got to put truth to facts. So when that happens, these games come down in price, and you can get them at a very affordable price. But as the years go on, as you guys know, one of the worst systems, to be honest, to collect for when it comes money wise, is definitely the Sega Saturn. If you look this up on YouTube, you'll see there's a lot of Sega Saturn games that are just way too expensive, and sometimes people even want more money for the game itself, not even with the case. They might, let's say, they might have Marvel's, like I said, they might have Marvel superheroes, right? But they only have the disc. They're going to at least want $30, $40, at least. I'm telling you, they are. They're not going to say here you go for $10 or something like that. They're not going to. It's going to cost you more. Trust me, way more. Sometimes it depends on who the seller is. Another great game here. It's X-Men: Children of the Atom arcade smash hit in its original case and entirety. This is an awesome 2D graphical fighting game. As you guys well know, the Sega Saturn did 2D fighting games way better than the PlayStation 1. I'm sorry, it just did. I played 2D fighting games on a PlayStation 1, and they were okay. You know what I mean? But when it came to sound and graphics and detail in 2D fighting games, Sega Saturn was the king. It beat it hands down. Now, as far as 3D games, yes, the PlayStation pretty much did 3D fighting games better than the Sega Saturn. But in some cases, there were some games that were better, but most of the time, they did the 3D better. But when it came to the 2D fighting game, guys, genre, and it was Saturn versus PlayStation, it was Saturn that beat them hands down all the time. So that is Children of the Atom, and this was a great arcade game, and it's actually a perfect port. If you go to the arcade and play this and then go home and play it on your Saturn, you really honestly could not tell. This is a perfect port of the game. And as you see, you got all 5s from, I think it was Game Pro back in the day. Remember that? Remember the Game Pro? I think that's Game Pro right there, ratings. So this was perfect game, and it has the little, the little sponge in there and everything, and the advertisement of College Slam, But yeah, this is an awesome game, guys. This is an awesome game. I played this game for hours, beat it with all the characters. But that is the smash hit, guys. X-Men: Children of the Atom. Now, the next one we got here is Panzer Dragoon, which is another great game that came out. Now, they redid this and put these out on the next-gen systems. But this is the original Panzer Dragoon that was on the Sega Saturn. Nice front cover right there. Gives you a description of the game on the back. It's in good condition, but like I said, these cases are scratched up in the front because of how old it is. You got to remember, these is from 1995, 90s, and they're going to be, they're going to have a little bit of wear and tear in there. But that's another great on-rail shooter, Panzer Dragoon. Well, we got a lot to show, guys. Games here. We got Panzer Dragoon Zwei. This is part 2 for the Sega Saturn. Now, I do not have the RPG one. Now, my brother Poseidon does. The RPG one is worth over $2,000. These are the on-rail shooters, and yeah, that's part 2. Has the little sponge in there. What's really cool about this is they advertise things in here, like it has their little flight stick inside there. If you can see that, the Sega Saturn flight stick right there. Now, I don't own that, but that came with the advertisement on the back. It's called the mission stick, and if you like using those kind of controllers, peripherals, which was really cool. But That is part 2 right there, guys. And that's probably worth about, I'd say about in the $90 range. Sometimes maybe $100. It depends on the seller. But this was a fantastic game. They upped the ante with this, and with part 1, they actually upped the ante with this better than part 1. So, but yeah, that's what I got there. So, and hopefully, you guys enjoy this. This is supposed to come out, and supposed to be like a, it's a successor to the first one. It does it better graphically. It's beautiful colors and everything. And there's also one on the Xbox that's backwards compatibility. This is a great game for the Sega Saturn. Now, the next one I got here, this is kind of a rare game that came out on Saturn. It was very popular on the PlayStation 1 first. But a lot of people, I guess some people didn't even know that this game came out on Sega Saturn, and this is actually worth some money too. This is a gem in the rough. It's the original Resident Evil. Resident Evil actually came out on the Sega Saturn, and I have it, and I did not pay much for this game at all. Now, when I looked it up last time, this game was worth $130. Now, I don't know what it's worth today, but I only paid $25 for it. So this is Resident Evil on the Sega Saturn. Now, I don't really can really compare it to the PlayStation 1 version, because back in the day, those games, they weren't that great looking with the polygons and different things like that. So it didn't look super great, but it's playable. But that is Resident Evil, guys, on the Sega Saturn. Everybody thought that, hey, PlayStation, man, is it's Capcom, but it started out on PlayStation, and I guess some people thought it would never come to a Sega system, but it actually came out for the Sega Saturn, which is really awesome. So, yeah, that's really cool, and it's good to have it. It has great artwork and everything on there, So yeah, that's cool, and I'm happy to own that. I'm happy to own that game, So the next one here is Clockwork Knight. This is Clockwork Knight, and this is another great game that came out for the Sega Saturn. Pretty different. It's like a side-scrolling platforming game. It has unique mechanics in it, beautiful backgrounds and colors and animations in Clockwork Knight. Clockwork Knight 2, I think, is worth a little bit more than Clockwork Knight, or it might be this one. But I think the other one is it's definitely also worth a pretty penny. But this is Clockwork Knight, which is actually pretty cool. Nice little, purple looking like CD inside. This is the back of it here. Gives you a little description of the game, if I can do it right on the camera. Different things like that. So, yeah, this is Clockwork Knight, for the Sega Saturn. So, good game though. It's a very good game, and the creators of this, which is Sega, they used their imagination with this game, and they did a really fantastic job on it. So that is Clockwork Knight. Another one here is Last Bronx. This is a good fighting game. This game has became up in price, about $70. Now as far as it being complete, it might be $80, $90. I'm not sure. Depends on who's selling it. Or you might be able to get it on the cheap. I'm just using my theory on it. But I know it's definitely worth way more than $20 or $10. Probably in the $60 to $70 range, I would say, complete in its box. Good fighting game called Last Bronx, man. Very good fighting game. Last Bronx. And on the inside, it has a, advertisement of Lost World, Quake. It has a little sponge in there, in the game. Because these usually came with the sponges to keep it, I guess, from popping out, like in shipment. But that is Last Bronx, guys. for the Sega Saturn. It gives you a little description on the back of the fighting game, but it's a really good fighting game. I spent hours and hours playing this, and they did a pretty good job with the animations on the front of some of the characters for the game on Last Bronx. All right, what else we got here? Area 51. This was a good arcade smash hit by Midway. Area 51. Another great game. Some people actually forgot about this game, but this is actually a pretty good shooter. It's a pretty good shooter, man. Area 51 for Sega Saturn. Yeah, you need to use the stunner for it. I have the stunner gun for it. But you can use a controller. But, you can also use the stunner gun for it. And the animations were pretty decent in it for the time. In the 90s of graphics and error. It was pretty good. And, just the inside there, complete. Another great game that was played a lot in the arcades, Area 51. I think it might have came out for the Sega Saturn, guys. I'm not too sure about that. There was a good fighting game that came out from Data East. They used to make really good fighting games, obscure fighting games, and most of the time those games are very expensive. And this one is called Dark Legends. This was an actually really good fighting game from Data East. Dark Legends. Now, you got to remember, back in the Street Fighter days, everybody wanted to get on board, right? Everybody wanted to be like Street Fighter, and they made their own versions of Street Fighter. So Data East, I would say Dark Legends is kind of a little bit of a version. It'll remind you of a Street Fighter game, or a Samurai Showdown or something like that. But it's a good game that flew under people's radar. And actually, it's worth quite a bit of money right now. This is called Dark Legends. And as you see, the front of it has really good artwork on the front. It gives you a description of the game on the back. But it's really good. Now, if you import this from Japan, it's cheaper. I actually had it, but I sold it. I had the import version of this because I have the American version. But it's actually a good fighting game with good music, good graphics, and color. Definitely worth picking up, and it had the sponge in it. A lot of people don't really, they don't really consider their Sega Saturn games complete unless it has this sponge in here. You know what I mean? But it's still complete, even if it doesn't, it's kind of still complete. All right. Now this game is made by Digital Pictures. This came out on Sega Saturn. You can also get this game on your Switch. If you don't have a Sega Saturn. I actually bought it on a Switch to see how it is because it's on the go, and it's okay. It's not bad. And this is Corpse Killer for the Sega Saturn, and it is it says one of the top 20 games of the year back then. Corpse Killer. This is a very cheesy Digital Pictures game where they use real actors in it and they're digitized into the game. That one actor on the back of this actually died a few years back. I think he played the mad scientist or doctor. But this is I think it's a really cool game. But a lot of people, the shooting mechanics in there when you shoot the zombies, if you look at the background of this, right? If you can look at the background of some of the scenery right there, what they do is they come out and they're going like this, right? And you use your controller and you have to shoot at them and you'll see blood spatters and they fall down. It's cheesy, but it's a fun game. It really is a fun game. And that is by Digital Pictures. I thought it was pretty good. And it is the Graveyard Edition. So this is worth a little bit of money today. I'm not going to say a lot. Probably I'd say about $50, $60. And it came with, it came with 2 discs. So there's 2 discs inside. Came with 2 discs in flawless condition, and it has the little booklet that comes with it. I don't want to take it apart. But the booklet, like I said, is behind there. But that is Corpse Killer Graveyard Edition for the Sega Saturn, guys. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Another great fighting game. You guys know this game, some of you. Fighting Vipers. Another great fighting game for the Sega Saturn, And, some people, when you buy these games sometime used, people like to put the thing I hate about that when you get these is they put their initials on the back of it. You could probably get that off, P. And then what they do sometimes is they'll put their initial on the game. I hate when people do that, It doesn't really might take the value down a smidgen. It doesn't hurt the game, but you should never write on your games. You should never write your name or Sega rules or whatever. It's in perfect condition. Doesn't go through or anything. But, that's what happens sometimes when you get these games. But that is Fighting Vipers. It's not, I'm pretty sure you can get affordable on it. You know what I mean? But it's not going to be real cheap, like $5 or anything like that, guys. So let's do another one here. This is, what is it? Crusader? It's another game, nonstop action series, serious attitude. And this is another like shooter game. I never really heard of it, so I picked it up. So I picked this one up. It's pretty good. I don't know if this is pertaining to Star Wars or what. It kind of seems like it is. I think it might be. Now, I didn't get to play much of this. I just wanted to try it out to make sure it worked. But it says backup cart. So, probably has a little bit of memory. You have to get to it. But this was another game. At the time, this was a whopping, if you see, I left the price on, $10. Now, this game is worth way more than $10 today. This is probably like a $40, $50 game. Could possibly be worth even more, guys. But that's another game for the Sega Saturn in perfect condition. Is this Electronic Arts? No. But yeah, this is it here. Nice, CD cover right there, with the red. Pretty cool, but I picked that up on the cheap. Like I said, I picked these up, though, a long time ago. When I would find any Sega Saturn games and they were good price range, I picked them up. I didn't care what it was. It could have been a sports game or whatever. It was a Sega Saturn game. And this was actually one of them. So that's another one right there. Great game, guys, that I love today. This version is really good on the Sega Saturn. I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. The sound effects in this game is fantastic. If you have it through a receiver and you have it in stereo through your receiver, your Sega Saturn, it sounds phenomenal and scary too. We now own this company. That's right. It's id Software and Doom. Bethesda. This is Doom on the Sega Saturn. This is an awesome game. The graphics are beautiful, in my opinion, for back in the day. Awesome sound of the creatures. This is a great game for the Sega Saturn, and it's not cheap. So it is Doom, guys, for Sega Saturn. Back in the day, yes, I believe, like I said, there's people that still write codes and stuff on this and everything, and it's just terrible that they do that. Different things like that, but if you plan on keeping it and not selling it, fine. If you do sell it, it might go down a little bit in value because it has somebody writ codes on it or whatever. But it's in flawless condition. It's not broken. It's in very good condition. But this was a great game for the Sega Saturn, guys. Another one that's an oldie but goodie by Midway, Rampage. Rampage, another great game that everybody played in the arcade back in my day. They used to love playing Rampage, inside here, it's not bad. Not bad at all. So that was Rampage that I got here. So that's Rampage that I got, and I can't remember how much it was. $10 maybe back in the day. But a lot of these games like this even are worth more today. $50, $60, I'm guessing. Especially Sega Saturn, and that's made by Midway. Another great game. Good artwork on the front. Very good artwork on the front, and then on the back it just gives you a description of the game. So that's pretty cool. Another great game that actually was very popular on the PlayStation, found its way, because they had a couple of them that actually came over to Saturn. It didn't do as great graphically, but there were people that wanted these games on the Sega Saturn. And that is Battle of Toshinden, U-R-A. Battle of Toshinden was a huge game that was played on the PlayStation. But it also came out on the Sega Saturn. Now, I like the game. I thought it was pretty good. Yes, the graphics they're choppy, the polygons, the different things like that. But you got to remember, this was in the 32-bit era. And we weren't even talking about that back then. All we liked was playing fighting games and enjoying the game. We didn't really talk too much into deep detail like I do today about graphics, you know. And I was happy to own it on the Sega Saturn. Didn't have to go buy a PlayStation. So it was good to get this. I picked this up for $8 a long time ago at my exchange. And yeah, it's in perfect condition. Has advertisement of Virtual Fighter 2 inside there, different things like that, and Fighting Vipers. So yeah, that is Battle Toshinden UR. Really great racing game. Everybody loved in the arcades. It actually is still played today. It has a nice cover, a foil cover, and that is Sega Rally Championship for the Sega Saturn. Beautiful game. Awesome game. This game still plays good today, guys, in 2023 for the Sega Saturn. This is an awesome game. Yes, everything's dated because it's older, but this was one of the best rally games ever made. The Sega Rally. Awesome game for Sega Saturn, guys. I'm so happy to own this game. This game is worth a little bit of money today, but it's in perfect condition. Advertises some Sega Sports there, you know, but that is it right here. That is Sega Rally, you know, so Sega Rally. Now, what else do we got here? This is Virtual Cop. I actually picked it. Now, this is broken on one side. This is Virtual Cop. It has the back, but not the front. So I was at a flea market, and they gave this to me for $1. So this is Virtual Cop. The shell's busted, and it doesn't have a front. But there's Virtual Cop, one of the best shooter games with the stunner on the Sega Saturn that you played in the arcades. Plays well. It's not scratched. It's in very good condition. Nice to play hours and hours of Virtual Cop. So that is Virtual Cop for a whopping $1 at the flea market years ago. Virtual Cop. What do we got here? Andretti Racing. Andretti Racing. This was a whopping $3 at my exchange. A little beat up in the front, but that is Andretti. Like I said, anything Sega Saturn I pick up by EA Sports. Nice little racing game, Formula One racing game. Andretti Racing. He was big. I think he was big in the 90s. Andretti. Nothing too much in there. Black and white cover art on the front of this disc. That is Andretti Racing from EA Sports for a whopping $3. And it's in pretty decent condition. Pretty decent condition. Even with the shell case intact and not cracked. So that's pretty good. As you can see here, this is building up. The next one we have here, because I like pinball games, I got a few pinball games to show you on the Sega Saturn. This one here is called Last Gladiator Digital Pinball. This is a really awesome game for the Sega Saturn if you like pinball games. It had 3 different tables built inside. It's really cool. It has some digitized stuff in it that's actually on the pinball machine itself. They actually did a really good job with this, and I believe this is by Time Warner, if I'm correct. Time Warner actually got into the games, but yeah, this is Time Warner Interactive. So Time Warner was actually involved in this game. So that is Last Gladiator Pinball. The next one we have here, there's a few of them. Another decent one at a good price, made by Ocean. It is True Pinball. Now, I got this. I think I got this off of Lukey Games, complete for $8. I can't remember. But, you know, it's a pretty decent pinball game. But I liked it to get the pinball games for the Sega Saturn because back in the 32-bit era, they did these pretty good. You know what I mean? It says True Pinball, the molds, but not the law of gravity. So this is actually a pretty good pinball game. On the cheap. You might be able to find it cheap if you have a Sega Saturn, but it's one of the cheaper versions pinball games for Sega Saturn. So that's another one. And then we have Hyper 3D Pinball. This is actually pretty cool. This is another one that was cheap that I got from Lukey Games. It has a couple boards on the back that you could play here. I think it has, what does it have? Maybe like 3 or 4 boards. This is 3D pinball, baby. But it's actually pretty good, you know, and I didn't pay too much for that. So that is 3D pinball, which is in pretty good condition. You know, no writing on it, I'm glad, you know. But that's a nice game to also get if you like pinball games. Last but not least, this is Pro Pinball. You can find this on your PlayStation 3 and on your Sega Saturn. This is another 3D pinball game that you can buy. And I think I didn't pay too much for this also. I think it was around $5. So that is 3D pinball for the Sega Saturn. So let me see. Whoa, we got a few more to go here because we're building. You see our tower building here? It's our tower building here. So the next one we got, guys, great game on the Sega Saturn. Awesome fighting game. Played it for a long time. It's called Sega Saturn's exclusive Fighters Mega Mix. Mega Mix was a great fighting game for the Sega Saturn where you can play Virtual Fighter 2 characters, Fighting Viper characters. You can play as the car from Daytona. You can play all different types of characters in this game. You can unlock all different types. You can play fighters from Sonic Fighters, different things like that. And you can unlock all these characters in this game, which was really awesome. So I would say Sega Saturn was the first to do the collaboration like that, where you can play from different genre of games that were in their portfolio, which is really cool. So this is an awesome game to own, guys. If you like Virtual Fighter Mega Mix is just a lot of fun. You can be a piece of meat or something like that. This is really crazy. They went crazy with this fighting game. This was an awesome fighting game, guys, for the Sega Saturn, man. Now, this game here is actually worth a lot of money. This is called Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones is another really good game. Now, I never finished beating this game, but Mr. Bones gets a lot of reviews on YouTube. It's one of the more expensive games for the Sega Saturn. I've seen it well over $150. I got it for a long time ago. I got it for about $15. And it's in great condition. You know what I mean? It came with 2 discs inside here. I think I got this at the exchange for $15, and somebody put it in a pre-owned thing that used to be with GameStop. Now, that's his disc 2, and that's disc 1. So, Mr. Bones is actually worth a lot of money today, actually. It's complete in its box, but that is a great game, Mr. Bones, which is awesome. I think Hebot talked about this game and likes this game, Mr. Bones. So, what do we got next here? Mortal Kombat Ultimate for Sega Saturn. I believe Mortal Kombat Ultimate, I can't remember if it only came out on Sega Saturn and Sega Genesis, because I have it for Genesis too. I found the tape at a flea market, believe it or not, for a whopping $2. But this is Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate. And this is actually an arcade port by Williams and Midway. The sound and graphics are phenomenal. Phenomenal in this game. It looks just like the arcade. I would say it's a perfect port of the game. This is a great game for Sega Saturn. Mortal Kombat Ultimate. A lot of Mortal Kombat games that were on Sega Saturn are worth some money right now. It's in very good condition, and I got this a long time ago, man. Mortal Kombat Ultimate. Now, the next one we have here is Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This is a very expensive game. This is worth over $150. The one on the PlayStation is not worth that much. I do have that one too. It's okay. The PlayStation version of Mortal Kombat Trilogy, the graphics were like a little bland and blurry. The sound was muffled. You know, like it was muffled because I have the game. I played it. And I compared to this one. This one is way better, 10 times better than the one on the PlayStation. I'm not saying it's not good and you can't play it. The better version of Mortal Kombat Trilogy and the one that's more sought after is the one on the Sega Saturn. This is well worth over $100-something. So I got it back then for about $25. And like I said, I've had these games for years, guys. And I had a lot of fun with this. You can be Kintaro, Montaro. You can be Morlock. You can be all the boss characters in this. This is an awesome game. It should actually bring Mortal Kombat Trilogy back and make it back compat somehow for the Xbox, that would be really awesome to see this come back, man. You know, that would be awesome. And it's in perfect condition. You know what I mean? And I had so much fun with this game. My favorite character back in the day for this game, the trilogy, was Rain. Rain, the dude in the purple ninja suit. You know, it was really cool where he would split this rain at you and it'd push you back. And it made this weird, eerie sound. You know, Noob Saibot is in here, which is Ed Boon's name spelled backwards. That was his character, Noob Saibot. And this is actually a really awesome game for the Sega Saturn, but not cheap, guys, not cheap. The next one here you can find it's a little bit more affordable. A lot of people didn't like this version, but I believe the Mortal Kombat 2 version of on the Saturn was more towards the arcade, better than any of the other systems. It was very loud sounding. You know, the graphics were pretty good. The sound effects are very loud sounding, like if you were in the arcade and you were playing this on maximum volume on the cabinet of Mortal Kombat 2. But to me, a lot of people did not like this version, and I don't know why. But to me, this comes the closest to the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 2 was the one on the Sega Saturn. I think they just did it way better than any other system, and it came a little closer to the the arcade original that you would play in the arcade. So that is Mortal Kombat 2, guys, and still in good condition. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, guys. The live stream of Sega Saturn Showcase is almost over, but we got another great game here, which was really good. It's Street Fighter Alpha, Warrior's Dreams. Another great fighting game on the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn, like I said, and I'll say it again, did the best at 2D fighting games when it came to Capcom. And this is Street Fighter, Warrior's Dreams, Street Fighter Alpha. Great graphics, great color, great sound, and great music. The Sega Saturn did an awesome job with this game, the Capcom game. This is awesome, and I had hours and hours of playing time with my friends playing this game, guys. The music, everything was awesome in this game. Awesome, man. They did a fantastic job with this game. The next one we have here, let's show the other one, which upped the ante. This is Street Fighter Alpha 2. For the Sega Saturn. This is worth a pretty penny right now, guys. Another great game that came out for the Sega Saturn. The artwork is phenomenal with my favorite character, which is Hakuma, on there. And then you have Ryu right there. Hakuma is my favorite character of all time for Street Fighter. I'll beat your ass with Super Hakuma. You know what I mean? That is my favorite character right there. And the graphics were awesome on this. The color, the backgrounds were just phenomenal on the Sega Saturn. I mean, nobody could do it better back then, guys. Awesome game, awesome music, awesome color, awesome presentation in the beginning of the intro of the game for Sega Saturn. Just hands down a perfect fighting game if you want to go back and live nostalgia. Street Fighter, man. It is Street Fighter Alpha 2, guys. Street Fighter. You see I'm built in a Sega Saturn wall here, right? Like I told you, I have over 108 complete games, but I can't show you that all today because this would take forever. I want to eat lunch. I got to get ready for work, but that's the little wall here, and I got to actually bend over here to get over the box here. This is another one that's a very expensive game, great game. I got it for about, I think it was $20 at the exchange probably about 6 or 7 years ago. This is another good one. This is a Sega Saturn exclusive, guys. This is Die Hard Arcade. This game is worth over $100. Die Hard Arcade is another great game that came out for the Sega Saturn. Really awesome game. I played it. I didn't beat it, but I played it nonstop action. This is really cool. Nonstop fighting action. Die Hard Arcade hit comes home. Great, awesome game for the Sega Saturn. Nice little cover art there. Everything's in flawless condition on the inside. But this is another good game that came out for the Sega Saturn, which is Die Hard Arcade. A lot of guys, OGs back in the day, played this game and loved this game, but it's not cheap. That is Die Hard arcade. Now, what do we have left? Oh, now this game, my friends, they owned at a game shop, and I believe I did a trade, and I paid a little bit of money. I think like $15. And this game is definitely this is definitely worth some money. It's in flawless. I keep it in flawless condition. You never know when you have to sell something, right? This is actually, I think, the only game, Contra game, that came out for the Sega Saturn. This game is worth some bucks. This is well worth over $100. I think I seen it for $190, almost $200, and it has the little sponge inside there. And if you see that game Corpse Killer right there that's advertised, that's worth over $100 right there. This one right here, that Corpse Killer game right there. So yeah, and it has the little sponge. The game is in perfect condition. It has the camouflage, like army camouflage right there, guys. And this game is well worth over. I can get over $100 for this game right now if I wanted to sell it. I bet you I can get about $1.25 for this right now if I want to sell it cash. Contra, Contra, and it says 3D glasses enclosed inside there. I think that's in the booklet inside here. I put them in the booklet. But this is the 3D. You could play 3D, or you could play it. I think you could play 3D or 2D. I think you could play it in 3D or play it normally, because I did play it. I think I did play it in 3D, and I think you could play it normally too. But this game is worth a pretty penny, man. This is the Legacy of War Contra for the Sega Saturn. Not cheap at all. Not at all. All right, what do we got here? Another game here. This is called Cyber Speedway. It was cheap. I only paid like a whopping $5 for it. It's a little racing game right here. That's Cyber Speedway. It's a little beat up right here. Little beat up in here. You know where this is. Cracked right here, but it was only like $3. So, I picked that up. All right. We got 3 more. I'm just going to take them out of the box because my Saturn wall is getting big here. Is that it? I think that's it. All right. What I got? No, I got 4 more here. 4 more. Another great game that was made by Capcom, guys. It's a little bit expensive today. It is Night Warriors, Stalker's Revenge. Another great game that came out for the Sega Saturn, guys. The graphics, the color is stunning in this game. They did a fantastic job with this fighting game. I played hours and hours of this game, guys. It got beautiful artwork on the front there, and on the cover on the inside. Beautiful artwork of the game, of the characters, and it has a little sponge inside there in the game. But this is another one that's a must-have if you like fighting games for Sega Saturn. It's Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. This is a fantastic game, guys. My favorite character in this game was called Pyron, and this is a fantastic game by Capcom for Sega Saturn. Now, this is another good game. This is Darius Gaiden. That game's worth over about 90, probably about 80, 90 bucks right now. It's a shmup game that was on Sega Saturn. These games are very hard to come to. You'll never probably see these on Xbox. They're on the Switch. They're on PlayStation. But for some reason, they don't want to put this on Xbox. They want to keep it Japanese-centric. That's fine. Maybe someday it might come. Maybe it won't. If you want to play the Darius collections, you either have to buy a Switch or buy yourself a PlayStation 4 Slim or something like that. But this was the version that was on the Sega Saturn. It's a beautiful game. Awesome. Weird music. Very weird music. The atmospheres and the backgrounds are very weird. You know what I mean? Very creative art in this game. I love this game. Darius Gaiden for the Sega Saturn. Another cool game here. I don't think there's no sponge or nothing in that, but I picked that up pretty cheap also at my exchange. The next one here, which is another acclaimed game called Galactic Attack. You can actually buy this right now on your Xbox, and I think it's around $29 or $30. But if you want to buy the original that's on a Sega Saturn, you want to up that a little more to maybe $70, $80. if you want to buy this for your Sega Saturn. And this is Galactic Attack with the little code I put in here and the sponge. I got it at my exchange back in the day for $15. Galactic Attack. Last but not least, and I have a special thing to show you before I end the video. This is called Virtual Fighter Kids, which is a really good fighting game, but it's just the Virtual Fighter characters have, you know, like little, they look like little, what is it, pops, right? You know, so this was like a Virtual Fighter Kids version of Virtual Fighter. So this is another one that's kind of a rarity when it comes to Sega Saturn games. It has the cool backgrounds like you would see when you would play Virtual Fighter 2 or 1 on the back there. It added new stuff to it. But Virtual Fighters Kids was a fun game to play back in the day, man. And it was a cute 'em up. They call them a cute 'em up, a cute beat 'em up, you know, that they added, you know, making this game. So, yeah, that is Virtual Fighter Kids, guys, for the Sega Saturn. This game is actually worth a little bit of money today. Not super expensive, but more than 20 bucks, maybe about 50, I'll say, in its box. So that is Virtual Fighter Kids, man. That is cool. Last but not least, what are you clowning me, 100? What's up, 100? What's up, the realist? Last but not least, man, this is really cool, near and dear to my heart. This was a great game that came out for the Sega Saturn. It's a little bit expensive right now, but this is one of the games that I would say this is Sega Saturn's mascot, right? And this is the special edition version of Knights. Right here. This is very expensive. I seen this for $200 on sale online. This is the special edition of Knights. I paid $5 in a trade at my exchange years ago. I traded in some stuff. I used half of my trade slip, and I only had to pay $25. This is well worth over $200 right now, guys. This is the special edition with the 3D controller pad in here with the game of Knights Enter Dreams. Very good cover on the front. Box is in pristine condition. The 3D controller pad is inside. It shows you on the back here. We're going to take it out. I'm going to show you. I don't really like to take it out much, but I'm going to show you. And the game is also in here. If you buy the regular version of Knights, it's going to be cheaper. You might get it for about, I don't know, $40, $50 complete in its box. But this is the special edition. I've seen it for over $200 online. People like putting crazy prices on this stuff, right? So let's take it out. And I think sometimes it's actually worth it. You know what I mean? But this came actually in a cardboard box. Came in a cardboard box. Here's the book. Book that's in condition. Nothing wrong with it. Little bent from me probably putting it in and out. But it's in mint condition, guys. And here is the, let me put this here. Here is the 3D controller right there. Now, I don't really want to take it. I don't really want to take it out, but I'll like lift it up. And then in the inside there is the game. The Knights game is right there inside. It's upside down, but that is the Knights game. And this is the controller. This controller is actually really cool. This is the father controller of the Dreamcast. You might as well say they would kind of got some ideas to kind of make what the Dreamcast controller would probably look like. This is probably, you know, something like it. But this is a really unique circle-looking controller, which is really cool. And this thing is expensive. If you can find this without the Knights game, it's still going to cost you, man. This is a really, really awesome controller. The 3D pad for Knights Enter Dreams. It's comfortable. It's awesome to use, you know, playing any game, not just Knights. I played this using any other game I used it for, and I like it. And what's really cool about this is cool, and I don't know why it does this, but I will take it out. I don't know why it does this, but it kind of looks like the Enterprise, right? Doesn't it kind of look like the one of the Star Trek Enterprise ships? Huh? It kind of looks like, is it Next Generation? Kind of looks like the one of the Enterprise ships, right? As it cruises past me, right? But you could take this off. For some reason, you could take this off. I don't know if they were planning on doing something with this or what, but you can actually take this part off and hook it back up. So yeah, man, yeah, they had a little concept of the Star Trek Enterprise. You know, flip the script, flip money would appreciate this, right? He's a Trekkie, but it's just it's an awesome controller. It's an awesome controller. You know what I mean? It's the 3D control pad game, and it came with the book, guys. Came with the book, and like I said, I looked this up. And I've seen this bad boy over $200, man. I shit you not. Now, I don't know if the price of this stuff, I know the price of this stuff fluctuates. Sometimes it goes up. Believe it or not, guys, sometimes it'll go down. It all depends. It all depends, man. You know, but that I keep all that stuff in really good condition. You know, so that is the Night Enter Dreams. And believe it or not, last but not least, whoa. Last but not least, this was actually free. This is actually a game. This is actually a whole game. It says sampler, but this is actually a game. This is the special edition of Christmas Nights. Now, I got this free in a Sega Saturn book, but I seen it for sale for $80 on eBay, $90. Somebody had it for $200 because became in a Sega Saturn book. Some people, when they get the Sega Saturn magazines, they throw this shit to the side. It's just a demo or whatever, or they throw it away. There's people that probably threw these away. This is worth a lot of money. This is a holy grail. This is Nights Christmas. Now, if you play Nights on the Xbox and stuff like that, I think it's built in there. But if you want the original disc, Nights Enter Dreams, and you go look it up online, it's expensive. I seen it for $80, $90, because it was a special collector's thing that came in the book, and it has a special artwork on the disc itself. But I've seen this for a lot of money. I couldn't believe that they put $80, $90 on this, man. It's probably worth it because it's rare. It's rare. And what's really cool about this is at every end of the board, when you would beat a boss, they take you to this board that has where you can open up presents. So when you open up the presents, sometimes it'd be the bad character and you don't win anything. Sometimes it can be where you can have extra character you can use in the game, like Sonic, Tails, artwork, anything like that, music to add to the game. They use their creativity awesomely in this sample of Christmas Nights. And it also is really cool because when you turn your Saturn on right now, you'll see the Christmas theme, right? If you turn on in the spring, you'll see a spring theme. If you turn on in the summer, you'll see a summer theme. So it's time-based in there, which made it even better, guys. And that was free when you got a Sega Saturn book. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video of my live stream and showcase of my Sega Saturn collection. Like I said, guys, every other week or every other couple weeks, I'm going to come back and do another one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, man. Merry Christmas and happy holiday to you guys. We will be coming up with a podcast, Exile Podcast, with Brother E-Rock and them real soon. I got to talk to E-Rock, but we're going to either have it before or after Christmas. I hope you guys down memory lane nostalgia gaming with the Sega Saturn. That was a great system in my opinion, and too bad it went away. But at the time, it was a great system. It was near and dear to my heart. And one thing I'll tell you, man, I never turncoated. My friends all had PlayStations. I stayed playing this. Even though after it went out of existence, I stayed playing this until the Dreamcast came out. And I didn't buy a PlayStation 2. I stayed playing the Sega Dreamcast until, you guessed it, the Xbox came out. Because that's who Sega Man is, brother. All right? So, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy gaming. And I will see you guys soon. Take care, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I want to thank everybody for coming from the realist to Big Dave was in here. We had our brother 100. Thank you for coming, 100. Gaming since 1980 was in here. Thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate you, man. Anthony Chipmunk, Game Third Squad. Hey Tony, hey, you have 2 channels. Yes, I do. I have 2 channels. Yes, I do. I do movies, Blu-rays, 4Ks, and my main channel, honestly, which is my gaming channel. And thank you, Bob, for coming. I really appreciate all you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back with another console and game soon to stream live to you guys that love gaming and love nostalgia and classic gaming collecting and retro games. All right. Peace and love, guys. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now, guys. Have a good day.